Hey, this is Loose Change. Call-ahead viewing is recommended. I'm Jim Evans, and I recommend you hang around for a very special show with a great guest, as always, so stay as you are. What's been going on? Greg, as always, I'm laying around at home, laying on the couch, TV's on, I'm dozing in and out. I wake up, it's on, I'm hazy, and I see what I think is high school football. You know, we're at that time. Video of practice, and there are people that are shoving and blocking and sweating and grunting. And then I realized it's just news video of checkout line at Walmart. Did you hear that British archaeologists made a surprise discovery? I mean, a big surprise. They stumbled upon what they say is a 3,000-year-old community. And apparently, it's in pretty good shape. Most everything's intact. They found textiles, pottery, and 4 tickets to a Rolling Stones concert. How about Hugh Hefner and Crystal Harris? Still apparently married and doing okay. Remember, she is 27 and Hugh is 87. And they're expecting him to drop over at any moment. And of course, it's summertime, and one of the things I always enjoy is the running of the bulls, Pamplona. And I remember the first time I saw that and thought, that might be kind of cool to try. But still now, you know, if I'm going to run down some old crusty street, chase from behind, about to get trampled and stabbed, be a lot cheaper. I can just go to Detroit. Hey, stick around for Boardman head football coach Joe Ignazio. He joins us next here on Loose Change. Go deep, put down.
History, the sports, the stories, the events. Armstrong Local Programming puts the focus on our community. Watch to learn about new events or discover the rich history of our area. You can find local programming on your local programming channel and on demand. Want even more? Subscribe to the Armstrong One Wire channel on YouTube. It's our town all the time with Armstrong Local Programming. One Wire, infinite possibilities.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans. I had the great pleasure to be joined by the head football coach at Boardman High School. He is Joe Ignazio. Coach, thanks for being on the program.
Appreciate you having me.
You know, what we like to do, top of the show, is have our guests just give a little resume about yourself for those who don't know where you went to school. We know that. But how your education and your career path took shape.
I graduated from Boardman in '93. Played football and wrestled there. Went on to Youngstown State University, graduated with my bachelor's in elementary education, teach 6th grade science at Center Middle School, and worked through my master's at Ashland in administration. I've had that and not ready to use it yet, but started coaching my first year in Boardman in 2003. I got a phone call from Gary Smith, who just recently passed, and crazy to hear, but Gary called me and asked me what I remembered about Roger Patterson's defense. Roger was still a defensive coordinator at the time, and remembered it, had my playbook still locked away somewhere at my parents', I'm sure, and that was my first coaching position at Boardman, so very thankful for that.
And then everything else fell into place for you a few years ago.
Everything, after that first year with Gary, DJ Ogilvie took over.
Yes.
DJ was there for a good number of years. I was the freshman coach at one point, ran the defense for the JVs and freshmen, and kind of worked my way up through the ranks. He made me a running backs coach and defensive line coach, and then was retained by Mark DeRamo when he took over, and DJ left for Florida. Mark was there for 2 years, and then had interviewed originally when Mark interviewed. Obviously, he had a good number of years' experience over me at the time. And we laugh about it now. He was actually coaching at Fitch when I was playing. But then re-interviewed again that year. Mark resigned and got the job.
What was it like to get the head coaching job at your alma mater?
I can remember at first I went home and sat down on the bed and told my wife I got it. And it was a little overwhelming at first, being an alumni there. Lifelong dream of mine.
Sure.
If you would have asked me early in my career if I would have been a head coach, I don't know at that time I would be, but obviously through the years I aspired, to end up as a head coach. had some unbelievable mentors, through my career, and hopefully we get a chance to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, very fortunate. It's been exciting, and hopefully we'll make a good run here.
Well, so far pretty good.
Trying.
We'll get into that, yeah. But did you feel, or have you felt? And I hate to use the word pressure, but that's not the word I want to use. Did you feel any? Obviously, you were excited about this opportunity, and it's a challenge for you. Is there any premium on top of that where, hey, this is my school, I got to get this done? Or is it just, this is a challenge I'm embracing and we're going to do it?
A little of both. I mean, you get nervous when you hear from your former head coaches and your position coaches and your teammates and things like that. It feels like there's a little added pressure. When you run into them or they send you, I got an unbelievable amount of support. People sent me letters and cards of congratulations, things like that early on. But obviously you have to have a narrow focus and know what the job entails. And, even after this year, I called DJ Ogilvy and thanked him, because we went through a similar situation when DJ took over at Boardman. Had a couple losing seasons and had to rebuild the program, and he was obviously instrumental in doing that, and seeing him go through that and do that. I don't know that I'd ever be able to get through the 3 years that I have at Boardman not going through that with DJ and the unbelievable staff that we had there through the 2000s with him.
Obviously, you took from him, working with him. You mentioned Gary Smith, and what are some of the other people along with them? I assume you took from them that really have influenced you in coaching.
Obviously, my head coach Bill Bourne, and still at it. And it's great to run into him, and he'll pull me aside and whisper in my ear that I better not be throwing the ball. The old wing tee philosophy. But it's great to hear that throwback mentality too, and that's one of the things I want to establish at Boardman, to gain an identity. But Bill's been great. We run into each other very often at the coaching things, and it's good to see him still in the game.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I think coming close to his 300th win, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously proud that he's still around, and I get to share some of the coaching things behind the scenes with him. Obviously, DJ Ogilvy was a huge part of my career. And all the guys that were on that staff. We had an unbelievable staff. Yeah,
there was.
In fact, we go to camp every year, and one of the guys that does our team building stuff still goes down with DJ. And, he kind of leaned in when we were at camp this year and said, I think DJ finally has a staff like he had at Boardman through those years. Roger Patterson was around when DJ was there, longtime defensive coordinator, learned under him. Jack Kenny from Austintown, all those great Hartman years at Austintown, was on our staff for a good number of years.
Jack was my partner in the booth for a year on radio.
Got to learn under him. And then, over a better part of, I think, about the last 8 or 9 years, it's been Mike Popio, a longtime Cheney defensive coordinator. So I've been really fortunate with the experience of those guys. And I lean on them a lot. Roger's still around and comes up to practice. And Mike's been... It's one of those guys. I don't know that I would have taken the job if he wouldn't have accepted the phone call, and I've been honored to have him as my defensive coordinator. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, you mentioned some great guys there and coaches, that's for sure. We had Coach Bill on the show too, so that was it's always a pleasure to talk with him. And I assume, and obviously, it's still a learning curve for you in a lot of ways.
It is.
In your mind, what makes a good football coach?
Obviously, you have to be disciplined and organized. But be a person of character. Kids are going to know when you're not yourself. They'll pick up on that. And they generally want to be coached and taught. And, everybody tells us that kids are different these days and everything else. But I truly believe kids are the same. They want coached. They want to win. They want to succeed. And, that's kind of the characteristics that we lay our foundation on. And, that's never going to change with us here at Boardman.
Has your experience as a head coach so far been anything that you kind of haven't expected to this point? You still have a long way to go here ahead of you, but
it's probably been everything that I never expected.
Okay.
I mean, that first year was tough. It was, my wife's a great supporter. of what I do, and she was great and letting me be selfish and take a job with 2 young kids at home, and she works full time. So, I don't know that I'd be able to get through this without her and the kids. My kids are getting older. It's neat because my son's starting to come up to football and things like that. He's at that age. But that first year, I don't think it was ever as bad as I thought it would be. Most people don't realize we were Division I forever.
Right.
Had dropped to Division II that first year, my first year. We had gone through 3 head coaches in 3 years. I was the third in 3 years after Mark left. And then, our numbers that first year were atrocious. And I think that was a reflection of the instability of the program.
Right.
So we wanted to get it on solid ground. I think we've done that. The numbers have been pretty solid. But, we talked, we're a pretty unique situation at Boardman. We're bound to public school. And, but we walk the hallways. We're shaking hands with kids constantly, having conversations with them about playing football. And I think we're kind of unique because I've got guys on my staff that are at all levels of the school system. So, we immerse ourselves in that and try to keep our numbers up.
So it's cultivating that interest at the younger levels that has been a big boost for you, obviously.
Absolutely. You got to build those relationships. Kids want to know, number one, whether they're going to play anymore.
Sure,
And
yeah.
And a lot of kids, you'll be amazed that don't come out if they think that they're not going to play. But you still have to instill in them the value of the work ethic. There's no substitute for hard work, and you kind of have to play both sides of that. So we get kids to realize that, and we got a pretty enthusiastic staff. Some good experience, some young guys, and guys that have committed to what our vision is.
What are some of the other challenges you've experienced being now the head coach that you didn't have to deal with as an assistant?
Scheduling's tough.
Okay.
We had a good league schedule for years in the Federal League.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's presented a little bit of a tough thing scheduling in the All-American Conference. Most schools in a big tiered conference like that, you have the back half of your schedule. In the Federal League, we were like weeks 3 or 4 on were all our league games. We're kind of scattered all over the place, and it makes it tough, from weeks 5 on to try to find openings. A lot of teams are either in leagues or they're independent, or, when I took over, one of the big things that I had to deal with were, we had all these carryover contracts. Everyone just thinks you can, pick up a team whenever you want, and you can't. No, some are signed for a year, some are 2 years, there's longevity built into the contracts and things like that. So that was one of the things that, we had Mentor our first 2 years. So it was kind of a, not a headache, but a bigger challenge than I thought, taking on a Division I program like Mentor and, having dropped to Division II and the numbers where they were. I knew that it was going to be a challenge because we didn't have the depth we needed to build the program at first, and that was probably the toughest thing that we had to overcome.
So you're taking, obviously, on a lot more administrative scenarios that you previously had not had
I am,
to do.
but, I got a phenomenal athletic director in Denise Gorski.
Yeah.
She's been unbelievable. It's been good to lean on her, especially for a lot of the scheduling things.
Right.
It was kind of neat because we had a change in high school principal, Cindy Fernback, and a change in athletic director in Denise, and I took on the head football position pretty much all around the same time. So we've leaned on each other as much as we can and communicate as much as we can, and it's been good to have those two.
Absolutely, no doubt. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more Joe Ignazio right here on Loose Change.
All they want is a chance to be loved, to be your companion, to stand by your side. And what do they ask in return? Just a little love from you. Consider adopting a shelter pet from one of the great organizations in the Mahoning Valley. Proudly sponsored by Armstrong Positively Pets. Adopt a shelter pet, a friend for life.
Back on Loose Change with Boardman head football coach Joe Ignazio. I'm Jim Evans, and Coach, obviously you're coming off a great season, made the playoffs last year. Obviously that's one of your goals to, win your league and make postseason play. And talk about that great run you had last year.
Yeah, it was it was pretty special knowing where I took over the program at and where we went in 3 years. It was, you know, it's very gratifying knowing the hard work that goes in, and you know, those first couple of years you got a lot of critics that are on your case, and you know why you're not winning, and they want to tell you how to run your program and everything else. So I felt kind of vindicated, but you know, I can joke around now and say that that was exactly what I expected in my 3-year plan. You know, it's easy to say that now, but you know, thinking back that first year, I don't know if you're thinking about a 3-year plan. You just want to get through that first year and get everything on solid ground, and things kind of fell into place. I was very fortunate to have a good group of seniors. We played them very early on. A lot of those guys had, you know, as a career for Boardman guys, I bet they had more games at the varsity level under their belt by the time they left than probably any group of kids. Because you know, we talk all the time. When I played, you were lucky to sniff the field as a junior. Very rarely we had guys that were lettermen as sophomores, and you know, you built toward your senior year. Your senior year better be your best year, and those guys bought into that mentality. And I talk very often, you know, about being an alumni and you know how we worked through those years when I played, and you know the foundation that Coach Bourne built, and they bought into it, and you know, had a lot of game experience, and we fell back on that, and when it was their time to shine, they did it.
And of course, adding to all of that excitement was the excitement of the new stadium, and you know, I had the opportunity to call a couple games you had last year, and it was really cool seeing a big crowd out, and that added to the whole mix, didn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty special to have the year we did. And have the environment, the environment. People, you know, we've had even the teams that played after us in the playoffs call and say it's an unbelievable football environment, and you know, wouldn't want to have it any other way for Northeast Ohio football. You know, it kind of brings you back to those days of the SVC feeling and the excitement of the crowds and everything else like that. And I don't necessarily know that we had that for years with the Federal League, and it was nice to build those home relationships here with the schools and teams that we played this year. But pretty exciting. It's kind of funny when that video board went up, you know, we hadn't practiced there. And I'll never forget the first practice, they had the video board running because our video guy said, you know, you don't want them to see this for the first time on Friday night. It'll be a huge distraction. Yeah. And they kept telling me it was 5 feet shorter than Penn State's video board and everything else. And he didn't lie. We went up to the first practice, and our kids could not keep their eyes off that thing. But you know, they got through it. They knew. We talked about it being a distraction, and but it's good. It's good for our kids. They deserve it. Good for the community. A lot of people put unbelievable effort and time into that thing, and you know, it's good to see that our kids at Boardman have an environment. You know, second fiddle to nobody. It's you know, they really deserve it.
Well, and it says a lot about the people you mentioned, the people in the community, and those who stepped up to help make it happen, and it really says a lot about the support you have. Yeah,
Bill Bonte and our booster group and Dan Durkin and people like that behind the scenes, you know, were really on board with it, and it's been really nice to have.
You know, and the other cool thing about it was not only did you make the playoffs, but you got to play at home in your new stadium, and then, you know, there was also another playoff game beyond that, you know, with other teams, but just to have that and be able to play at home in a playoff game was special.
Yeah, and it's not known as an alumni. I never realized with the rich tradition of Boardman that we had never hosted a playoff game. And the playoff formats change over the years, and I can remember when 2 teams got in our region, and you know, there were years that we had great football teams at Boardman. They didn't get in. You know, my brother's team, I think it was the Jeff Ryan and Conklin years, and they were 8-2 and didn't get in. And so we're fortunate. The format set up well for us at 6-4 to get in. But it was an exciting thing. Nowhere near where we want the program to be. Losing Mario, that first series of offense was tough because he's an exceptional football player, but more for those seniors and the entire community and football team. You know, we want to keep that thing going, and kind of a little disappointed in that, but you know, extremely happy with where we were.
And just a little more on the stadium. Things are, for those who don't know, it's still in the process of evolution here, isn't it?
It is. We're in the middle of doubles, and the band shell has been going up, and they're close to finishing that. And we have a third phase with some concessions and ticket booths and some smaller locker rooms that's going to go in next to our weight room. And our boosters have a website that you can go on and they're doing some different things with selling bricks and obviously still looking for big business donors and things like that, but excited with where it's headed.
Well, before you know it, and this show will air at different times. We might even pretty much be into the season, but talk about your schedule. You'll have a little change up in your opener for the season, but still a challenging schedule for this year.
Tough schedule, and we've said, I've preached to our kids, we don't want it any other way. It's made them better football players. It'll make us a better football program, win or lose. They'll leave the program better kids because of the schedule they play.
That's right.
We open up with East this year, which will be new to us, getting Mentor off the schedule. Not saying that it'll be easier or anything else, but where we came from, that was tough to play them those years. So it'll be nice to play someone at home also with a new head coach, and hopefully they're doing great things there. Obviously, keep Mooney on the schedule, week 2, and we'll be down at YSU this year. Play a couple Federal League teams in Jackson and Perry again. Obviously, Perry had an unbelievable year, and Jackson does great things. And pick up Steubenville this year and played them as a player. And I know that obviously the tradition they have, we've got our hands full, so our kids better realize they better come prepared and ready to play. And then, obviously, our league games, we'll play Ursuline, not a league game, but, Fitch and Harding will be league games, Ashtabula Lakeside, and Canfield, which will, you don't have any breathers. I mean, when you look at our schedule, 1 through 10, it's a nail-biter every week, but our kids, they'll be ready.
And again, you hope to extend your season, and having that type of challenge throughout the year just helps them be better prepared for that hopeful, week 11 and maybe beyond. So,
yeah, the thing we've sold our kids on this year is we've never been a playoff team 2 years in a row. Even the years with DJ, we were 07 in, 08 didn't make it, 09 we made it, 10 didn't make it, 11 we make it, and even going back through all our playoff runs, never 2 years in a row. And our kids have really bought into that and seem like they want to take off with it, and it'd be a special thing to get in, but want to make some noise this year also.
What has changed? And you said the kids haven't changed a whole lot, but what, if anything, has changed with the kids? And I know all the coaches I ask this is the one thing that everybody mentions is social media. From when you were a player and to the kids now, is that a big thing that you see now? Or
yeah, social media is huge. I mean, it influences the kids communicate. It's crazy. They communicate with kids from all over.
Right.
A couple of years ago, we got off the bus at Cuyahoga Falls or somewhere else, and there's a group of girls waiting for our guys to get off the bus, and kind of threw me off at first, and it kind of was like my introduction to social media. Wasn't real familiar with it, but the kids were, and obviously they're way beyond us with technology, but it was kind of a moment that you realize that in that aspect, kids have changed. But we talk very often about the problems that social media will present. And we always tell our kids, you don't want bulletin board material for other teams, so stay off it, and don't be jawing back and forth with kids from the programs we're going to play. And
that
things
happens,
like that. Yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen. But I think for the most part, they've got a good head on their shoulders about it, and they do a good job of knowing, what we're telling them. Better be gospel. If not, then they'll get punished.
We can't mention everyone, but who will be a handful of your key guys that we're going to be hearing about this year?
Obviously, a lot of the media talk is about Travis Kuntz,
right?
With him committing to Bowling Green. Yeah. Big kid, and he's really unique. He was a Glenwood Middle kid, and then went to Mooney his first year, and we got him back, and missed half of his sophomore year for the 50% penalty, broke his leg in basketball, but came back healthy. He's gotten enormous. He's about 6'5", 240 now.
Wow.
So he's really grown up in the last year and a half, and looking for great things for him. He's going to play on the defensive side of the ball. So Jordan Acevedo is a returner defensive end for us. That's getting interest at the Division I AA level, Division II. Kobe Adupoku is our tailback, and he spelled Mario. Actually had a great game against Mentor week 1, ran for 130 yards, and he'll be our mainstay at tailback this year. J.R. Ryan's back and started 11 games for us at quarterback. So Jared's a tremendous leader. So looking for great things from him. Outside of that, our line, Donovan Turney, played defensive tackle for us. He's going to see time on the offensive side of the ball. Bobby Toast back at center. Other than that, we've got kids all over. Gavin Strines is a kid that'll see both sides of the field for us at corner and tailback or wide receiver for us. He can play it all. He's got phenomenal hands and good football smarts. If you watch the play against Harding in the game last year, that was Gavin. Hopefully we don't have any of those again this year. It took years off my life.
What an incredible thing that was.
But Austin Barone is our other wideout. And then obviously we've got some young guys looking, Alex King to step up at fullback and inside linebacker. Some guys scattered across our offensive line that are battling it out. You know, Noah Folletti got some time in our playoff game at quarterback, and there's some other guys that are competing. You know, year after year we always preach to our kids, the job's not yours. It's not set in stone. You better come in and ready to battle. And I think that competitive atmosphere has really gotten our kids to step up a level, and hopefully that pays dividends during the season.
We have, unfortunately, just a minute left, but how would you characterize, what personality do you want your team to portray out on the field and off the field as well?
Most of my career I spent on the defensive side of the ball, and even though I was a running backs coach, I always kind of looked at myself as a defensive guy. And through those years of learning under Roger and playing under his, defense and Mike Popio, and we always preach to our guys we better play great defense at Boardman, and I think we've done that over the years.
For sure.
We want to be physical. We want to let our opponent know that, we're going to hit them hard, we're going to smack them in the mouth, and we're not going away. And it's going to be a tough game, 4 quarters, and that's what we predicate our football program on. Obviously, going into this year, need to make strides on the offensive side of the ball. We were young there with a lot of inexperience. Not too many kids to stretch the field. Team speed's been one thing we've been trying to improve year after year, and I think we're getting there. We've got a lot of track kids involved now. But yeah, tough. Our kids at Boardman are smart. They're tough,
smart, yep.
And we want that to translate over the football field.
Well, we know they will. We're excited about seeing you guys this year, and I have you a couple games, I think, on the radio side, so look forward to that. Best of luck, Joe, and thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it.
Joe Ignazio. We'll be back to wrap it up here on Loose Change right after this.
Get more than movies with Armstrong On Demand. Tune to Channel 1 or find On Demand with your remote. Search for shows alphabetically by series name or by network. Children's programming can be found in the Kids folder. Find your show and start watching. These shows are free with your Armstrong subscription. Watch as much as you want, when you want, at no extra cost. Your shows on your time. Armstrong, one wire, infinite possibilities.
That's going to do it for this edition of our show. Thanks so much to Boardman head football coach Joe Ignazio. He was great. And for Greg Roten, I'm Jim Evans. That was better. We'll see you next time here on Loose Change.